Right, welcome to the Digital Twin technical demonstrator video. My name is Chris Gage, so I'm representing the Energy Systems Catapult and Cityscape Digital. I'm a technology consultant specialising in analytics, AI, Internet of Things and other similar technologies in the built environment. Before we go into the demo, I should say this is a proof of concept demonstration of what a digital twin might do, and that this video focuses on the work to investigate the technical aspects of producing a digital twin. So we've been putting together disparate data sources, a modelling team of them been building simulations of how government policy might impact the way in which the country achieves net zero carbon. And just to quickly explain some jargon, digital twin is a digital replica of something that occurs in the real world, and because you understand the behaviour of that, can model it, you can pull certain levers and be able to predict what outcomes that will generate. So that's what we're doing for the energy system in the UK, but specifically here, the Manchester area. And it was based on data that was easily available to us from other projects with Manchester City Council. We focused on this area only as a pilot. However, future digital twin scope is expected to be national. So we can see on the screen here, if we zoom out, you can see the rest of the UK, but the focus here is on the Manchester area. And we can see the individual clusters represents the different areas in the Manchester City area. Model is scenario based with a goal of net zero by 2038 as defined by the GMCA. Result of this is a lot of the action happens around 2030 in this model, and less either end. So a lot of the progressions you'll see are quite not particularly smooth, but that's just how the model works at this point in time. It should be noted that this, even at this limited scale, the model's pretty complicated. We've got 11 million rows of data here, and the number of different options you can select with the different scenarios, time scales, and all the different measures, probably into the tens of thousands of different combinations. So it's quite a bit of complexity already, even at this scale. But it's been great to figure out how to structure this. We've learned a heck of a lot of lessons in doing so. There is an accompanying visual demonstrator on video, which shows the art of the possible in terms of how we can really take the visualization to the next level. So we've been using the Unreal gaming engine to provide a 3D immersive experience there, but this is connected to some real technical modelling of data. So with that said, let's get into the demo itself, and we're going to start off with greenhouse gas emissions, and I should probably just explain the layout a little bit. So because this is all really based around homes, geography is very important, and so the main means by which we view this information is geographically, and so the main window presents that. We can drill down below the cluster level down to LSOA, and even down to the home level, but I'll come to that shortly. Then we've got a control panel with different scenarios that you can select. So just a few quick words on the scenarios. With the hydrogen scenario, it's all about hydrogen uptake as an alternative to gas. So we've got high hydrogen, we've got high electrification, where the focus is more on electrification, obviously, through things like heat pumps. We've got high net, so there's plans for a hydrogen plant in the Manchester area, and so by selecting that scenario you see the impact of that, and then leading the way is without the plant, and pursuing more conventional means of energy reduction, carbon reduction. Um, then we've got the national grid future energy scenarios. This is based on data that they've published. So consumer transformation is really focused on assets that are installed into the home, consumer-led, leading way as above. Steady progression just assumes we keep things going as they are and make gradual incremental improvements. And then system transformation is a more radical transformation of the overall kind of infrastructure. And then the third scenario is heating flexibility. So the idea here is that we tend to get a lot of peaks and troughs. Well, peaks in the morning, when everyone gets up, about 6 o'clock, and then another peak in the afternoon when everyone gets home from work. So the idea here is if we can preheat a house so it's ready to go by the time people wake up, then there should be less demand at that particular point, and it's the spikes of demand that can cause real problems to the energy infrastructure. So smoothing that out helps benefit and make use of renewable energy sources as well, which don't come at the peaks when you need them necessarily. So we're starting off with greenhouse gas emissions, and we're starting at 2021, and you can see if we cycle through the dates, greenhouse gas emissions reduce, as you might hope, to very low levels. Now if we hover over the clusters, we can get, if you look at the bottom there, we've got the actual metric for that particular cluster, so 3.62 kilograms of CO2 here. The colours are really bandings just to help the eye perceive at a high level how the different areas compare to each other. And then in the middle you've got information about a typical house within that cluster. You know, what type of building it is, you know, what the heating source is, whether it's, you know, terrace or semi-detached, and any kind of insulation that's present. So that's how that works. Yeah, so we've moved through the different timescales. You can see that go up. Now let's have a look at hydrogen usage. So we've got all different energy sources here. We've got electricity, oil, gas, hydrogen, heat network. I'll just show you a couple. So we'll start with hydrogen. And with the leading the way, there's very little change throughout the entire period, 21 through to 2038, because, you know, hydrogen isn't really part of the leading the way policy. However, if we move to high hydrogen, we'll see that we start off with nothing, but as we increase over time, and you'll see this at 2030, this big change. Now we've got a whole load of hydrogen usage in play, and it increases over time as well. So we can also look at electricity usage. So kind of the opposite thing happens with electricity usage. So we end up with very little electricity as a power source. Start with some, but it gradually reduces under the high hydrogen scenario. If we switch to high electrification, as you might imagine, we start lower, but then as we cycle through the years, we can see that the electricity usage increases dramatically. With leading the way, it's more about the heat being electrified. With high net, there's still electrification of heat, but there's also other demand sources, things like electric vehicles. So you can see the patterns are slightly different for these different scenarios. Now, as well as seeing it at this high level, we can also drill down into the particular demand profile. So what this is showing is a 24-hour period, so you can see these hours along the top, and then it's also split down into half-hourly chunks as well. So this is 6 o'clock in the morning. We see that peak really starting to rise and ending around 9:30. So at the moment we've got HyNet selected, so as you'd expect there's quite significant hydrogen consumption as a total proportion, and then we've got the electricity demand as well, which is the kind of the other side of it. If we go to electrification, it's very much electricity focused, and these things change over time. I mean, if we go back to 2021, i.e. as things are as they stand, as you might expect, there's a lot of natural gas, there's a bit of oil as well down here, and a fair bit of electricity. But as time goes on, that shifts much more to electricity, and of course with hydrogen, as you'd expect, there's almost no other energy source other than hydrogen. It's a real focus there. If we go back to electrification, I'll just show you the impact of heating flexibility. It's quite minor. You can only just perceive it. The model's not particularly sensitive to it, but you can see there's quite slight shift there in smoothing out the curves. I mean, they're smooth to an extent already under this profile. If we went leading the way, maybe go back in time a bit. Yeah, I mean it's there are some changes to it, but it's quite subtle. But the idea is that if we use the energy early in the morning, we can reduce this peak here and improve that kind of demand response. So that is the demand profile. We can go back now to the main view, just to show you some of the other cost measurements as well. This is at a network level, so let's put the dial back to the beginning. Now we've got TOTEX here for the electricity network. We've also got the heat network, we've got gas hydrogen network as well, and we've got capital, operating and TOTEX. So if we look at TOTEX, we can see that the investment really increases during those middle years and then tails off again. So it's really during those middle years that we get the major investment, and I won't go into it now, but you can look at how that breaks down between capital and operational costs and the other fuel networks. So let's now go to home energy. Home energy costs. We're going to select leading the way, steady progression, and zero heat flexibility. And this is just showing the cost to the end consumer. So we can see there's some quite high prices there in the current state, but things are going to get significantly worse as well in terms of cost, although it does tail off. But it's important to model this because we need to understand what it means for consumers and cost of living as well. So that's a quick tour of the cluster view. If we click on a particular cluster, we can now drill down to the LSOA. I'm not going to go through all the different measures here. It's very similar kind of story with cluster. It's just it's broken down differently, but we've got all of the same measures here. Yeah, we can look at U values, for example, and see how these vary across the different LSOAs. So LSOA stands for local layer super output area. Again, we've got typical types of building in that particular area, and you know the time parameters and the scenarios will also update the visualization there, as you can see. Now if we click on an individual area in the LSOA, again we could go down to the demand profiles and it will show you the demand profile for that particular area, but we're going to go down to the home level now. And this shows you all of the homes in the street, so you can see the individual streets and how each one of these is linked to a unique property reference number. We can see where data is available, all of the details on that specific house. We've got things like the current EPC rating of all of them. There's quite a few greys here. This is where there's probably never an assessment been made on that particular house, but for all those that have, we can see some G's here, so something there which is particularly inefficient. This is quite a good one here, a B. We see who owns it. Yeah, is it social? Is it privately owned? Do they use gas boiler? What's the heating system there? Again, all the scenarios apply and the time scales, so we can cycle through those. And we can do things like check connections. So gas connections, as you'd expect, most properties have a gas connection at this point in time, but we expect that to then be reversed. There's only a few left in this example where they're still connected to gas. And then of course you'd expect the reverse to be true under the hydrogen scenarios. You can see here everyone's been connected to hydrogen, whereas if we went back to current day, that's not the case. So that gives you the ability to really kind of drill in. We can zoom right in as well. If we go to that small area and see the individual properties, we can do that. We can zoom right out. So that is very quick whistle-stop tour of the technical demonstrator. I think is worth saying that we could show a whole load of additional data. I mean, if we look at these measures here, we've got coming soon, so that we don't have number of jobs created, number of interventions to the homes, subsidies used, weeks of network disruption, but all of these measures could be incorporated into this model. There's a lot we could do with this. It's just a demo at this stage, just to show what we could do with a digital twin. And it'd be great to be able to build in real data, actual smart meter readings, maybe even some sensor readings to give more accurate demand profiles, house by house, rather than just working on a particular archetype and making assumptions. Bring in demographic data. It'd be great to add to this the ability to do some what-if analysis. So, if we can put side by side two different sets of policy selections, how does that then impact the journey to net zero? In terms of speed, in terms of cost, the trade-off between cost and benefit as well, because there's lots of different types of costs that fall on many different stakeholders here. How can we optimize those to achieve the result that everyone really is trying to get to here? So there's an enormous amount to do. Could be really interesting to local as well as national policymakers. DNOs, academics, inventors, enterprises. There's real potential for this type of analysis. So hopefully you found it interesting, and we really look forward to getting your feedback, your suggestions, and any other ideas you've got about it. So thanks for watching, and look forward to hearing from you.